Welcome back to my channel, AI True Scale. This is Sirisha Ross, your host. My guest today has spent 17 years and over 28,000 coaching hours shaping athletes. From high schoolers chasing scholarships to pros in CFL, NFL, and OHL, and NCAA. He's the co-founder of PHYSELITE, an integrated sports medicine and high-performance facility in Richmond Hill, Ontario, where physios, chiros, massage therapists, and strength coaches all work under one roof. So athletes never had to choose between rehab and progress. He's a certified strength and conditioning specialist, a Team USA weightlifting sport performance coach, and the kind of operator whose athletes stay for 5 and 6 years and start calling the place family. He's also a partner and SNC director at Victory Athletic Center and an outspoken voice on long-term athletic development. So today we're going to talk about what happens when you collapse the wall between a clinic and gym, what the next generation of athletes actually needs, and what running an integrated team teaches you about leadership. Asa Tam, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
So Asa, take us back to the moment you realized rehab and performance shouldn't live in separate buildings.
So that process started at the beginning of my career. So I started my career at Brigham Young University, Hawaii campus, and I had the great fortune of working with the athletic department while I was there, starting as a student intern and then working my way up to an assistant strength and conditioning coach. So the NCAA ecosystem is very unique in that everything is provided for the athlete, from laundry services to everything from your medical care, your rehabilitation if you need it. We had cold plunge rooms. There was massage and AT treatment available. Obviously, there was a strength and conditioning side, which is mine. And the athletes are taken care of really well within that ecosystem. Now, is it perfect? Absolutely not. There's still a lot of gaps, and there's a lot more athletes than there are staffs and coaches. So at the end of the day, I would say for a lot of athletes within that ecosystem, certain things are missed. And the great thing about being within a private entity, like a clinic like ourselves, we are able to really facilitate that one-on-one, that individual level of care that it's harder to do at an institutional level, I would say.
Okay, that's awesome. So how did the idea of PHYSELITE first come up between you and your partner, Julian?
Fantastic question. And it's actually PHYSELITE, not PHYSELITE.
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 PHYSELITE. Okay.
Yes. It's okay. Most people get that wrong, so it's okay.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No worries. PHYSELITE. Kind of like physical and elite, or physio and elite. That's it.
Okay, yeah. Okay, now I get it.
Yeah, it's an ambiguous name. Yes, we wanted some ambiguity within the name, so it was fun.
So that's when you can tell the story, right?
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was a good segue. So we met at a football conference. He's a physiotherapist, and I'm in the strength and conditioning or performance coaching space. And often, especially I would say within the Southern Ontario ecosystem, they often work in conjunction with each other, but it's really rare for them to be working really side by side and cohesively. A lot of times, they would refer to one another, but in terms of communication and direct access and even managing the care of an athlete, they tend to be a lot more compartmentalized as opposed to truly integrated. So we saw that gap there, and we both realized that we can offer a much better service if we were to find a way to integrate our service as opposed to try to compartmentalize it.
Yeah, that's great that you both met and you're doing this for athletes. It's like great. It's basically under one roof. They don't have to jump between rehab and the coaching session. So that's a really great idea that you both came up with. So
Thank you very much.
How did you decide? So how do you decide an athlete is How do you decide an athlete is done with a clinician and ready for the coach?
So we have a framework. We call it the Rehab to Performance Framework, or R2P framework. And what it does is it essentially outlines the progressive pathways and the requirement for each progressive pathway into the next section. So the way that we built it is everything is along the spectrum. So essentially an athlete will have certain conditions, whether these are symptomatic like pains, or it's more performance based like a percentage of their particular limb strength, their performance. But there's a lot of variables at play. So we try to objectify and try to systematize as many of these variables as possible. Basically, we have created this chart that every single one of our practitioner would follow. And because the essence of this is pretty simple, every one of our coaches, every one of our practitioners have a gauge of, okay, if this athlete, let's say they're in the transition phase, okay, we know what those requirements are. We know what they need to proceed to the next phase, which is the performance one. And often we'll have athletes coming in at different performance or part of this stage. Like they'll come in, let's say on the rehab stage, some of them will come in during a performance stage, but we might actually realize, actually, you're not performance, you're in a transition phase. And so we get athletes from all sorts of different directions. And what's really cool is it doesn't matter whether they're coming in through the rehab door or they're coming in through the performance door. They get the same, more or less, the same access to everybody. So whether they're doing high performance training and let's say they were doing it in the middle of a competitive hockey or soccer season and they get hurt, we can immediately start a rehabilitation process for that particular joint. But we can still maintain continuity and consistency in another part. So this happens all the time. Let's say a soccer player comes in, they landed wrong, they broke an arm, but we still have 3 other limbs that we could train. So we can still work on a lot of things like to keep their health and tissue status at enough capacity. Or let's say if they have an ankle injury, we can still train their upper body. We can still do certain conditioning drills with their upper body and isolate that, let's say, right ankle, and we can train everything else, and they can still maintain some cardiovascular conditioning. They can still maintain muscle strength, muscle capacity, and in that way their time lost to injury is a lot less. They can get back to the field faster. They're more capable. And anybody that's been in rehab space knows that the most vulnerable time for an athlete to be re-injured is during that transition phase where they're kind of getting ready to go back to play, but they're kind of not ready, and no one really knows at that particular time because the coach doesn't talk to the therapist giving another idea, and then the strength and conditioning coach, the performance coach, is saying another thing. So what we try to do is, as an organization, we really do try to keep the messaging as consistent as possible and as simple as possible. Basically, it's one voice, and we relay that one voice to the coach and to the athlete so that there's no room for ambiguity, and they know that, hey, this guy is actually ready. Here's what the timeline looks like. And it just makes for a better experience. And the last thing any athlete wants to do is lose time to injury, right? And they want to get back to their field of play as soon as possible. So we try to do that for them.
Okay, that's awesome. So that brings up a follow-up question for you, Asa. Is this, so I know that you guys have a CTO in your organization. Is there like a software that you're using to transition the athletes from one phase to another phase?
So there is actually. There's a few things that we do. And we are one of those very fortunate people that have been able to integrate technology really well into our ecosystem. We're far from scared. I find that, like, as small business owners and as entrepreneurs, because at the end of the day, we are practitioners first, right? Our craft is the strength and conditioning or the physio or the rehab or the massage, whatever it might be. The problem is we are not necessarily trained on other things. Everything from sales, management, integration of technology, even something as simple as customer service. We're not really taught that. A lot of the stuff that we had to learn on our own. And we've been lucky to have people within our ecosystem that can help us integrate a lot of these technologies into the platform. We have our own app that we call PIMA. Basically, it's called PHYSELITE Management App. And we use that to manage everything from our payroll to knowing what our expenses are. We know what upcoming expenses are. We take historic data that we have gathered. So we know that, okay, this year, this month, we were We were at here. Last year we were here. So it breaks all the data down for us. We know how well we're doing this month, which practitioner is having a good month, which is not. We can see how staff occupancy is like, how is our coaches busy enough. So this app actually breaks everything down for us, and it integrates with our manage of our CRM app and also our booking app, which is Jane. And that is another great platform that we do all of our medical charting and booking onto. So we are able to integrate our own app with the Jane app for, and again, this is an integration of technology for on our end. And then on top of that, a lot of the work that we do, we use AI as a part of our strategy, from just writing notes, taking team reports, like we do a lot of team assessments. So we take the data from all of our team assessments and we're able to use AI to help us develop everything from a summary to actually tell us what the data says and then create a report for the coaches.
That's awesome. So yeah, I was saving the AI question for the end, but yeah, I'm glad that you already spoke about that. That's awesome. Like when I read that you have a CTO, that's what I was kind of expecting, that you have some kind of in-house app where he's integrating different tools into the app. So that's why I asked that question. It just came out of like I
Yeah.
was just curious to know, like, because other businesses that I talk, like, they don't have CTO
No, it's very
as
rare.
it's very rare. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm glad that you clarified that question, Asa.
Thank you.
So your athletes keep using the word family. Where does
Mhm.
that come from?
I think it comes from how we treat the people that come into the building. I absolutely love the people that I work with, both our team members and our athletes, our clients. I created a space that I would want to be in. I was thinking about this. When I was an athlete myself, how I would have liked to be treated, the kind of atmosphere that I would like. And I really let that define what this facility is like. I say this to one of my I have a lot of students that come into our facility, as in co-op students from high school, university, master's programs, to come in to learn. And I always say my favorite part of the job is I get to create the exact work environment that I want to have. And that is a very rare thing. Most people have to accommodate and adapt to their working environment. Well, I have the great fortune of actually being able to create the exact environment where I can thrive and I can be happy and content every day. Now, it's not without its unique challenges, of course, but I think when the person that is leading the facility and is doing the work, I'm content and I'm happy, that spills and it resonates with everybody that comes in. So I try to treat everybody with love, respect, obviously a sense of care. But most importantly, I want to make sure that the athletes and the clients feel like they are the most important person to us whenever they come into the building. Try to relay that message to all of my practitioners, all of my coaches. Most of the time, when someone comes into the door, it's the best part of their day coming in. And as you know, a lot of people do work that they don't like. They are in situations they're not happy about. They might be in a really bad relationship and they might not be happy. But for that hour and a half, whatever time they spend in here, they know that somebody's taking care of that. They know that all they have to focus on is personal progress when they're in the building, and they have an entire team that is incredibly supportive. It's not just one practitioner, one coach, one trainer. It's an entire ecosystem there to support them. And that is pretty special and unique. And
Yeah.
yeah, I really want to be that level of, I think wholesomeness is probably the best way to put it. And I really love what we've created in regards to the atmosphere and the wholesomeness of the environment.
Yeah, that's amazing. And your reviews actually speak for that. So it's like if you go and look for your place reviews, I think I kind of try to read most of them. I think that's exactly what it is. And how you treat them and how they feel about the place, I think that's spot on. And it also needs to come from the management level, right? So you're in a COO position, and if you are thinking about that, and if you are respecting the athletes and also clients, your people who work under you also does the same thing. So it always needs to come from the top for someone
Absolutely.
to honor it. And it's a challenge, right? It's not really that easy. I mean, like we can say like 100 things, but to follow is a challenge, and without slipping a one thing that you said. So that's great. That's amazing that you were able to do that.
Thank you. I think consistency is one of the hardest things
Hmm.
in, I would say, like in any field. And the even more so is consistency in how we interact with people. It's so easy to, like, even today, there was a moment where I was just a little overwhelmed by a lot of things that I had to do today. I was tired. My caffeine hasn't kicked in yet, and one of my students, one of my co-op students who's helping us out, kind of made a mistake, and like I could feel that I was getting a little frustrated, and I was like, you know what? Just relax a little bit. It's okay. Just he's trying. He's doing a good job, and like I'm generally incredibly patient and pleasant. And even at that time, I had like a slight moment where I'm like, I kind of want to express some discontent, but no, I can't. I'm like, it's okay. He's a great kid. He's doing a good job. Things are fine. No one's dying.
Right, right.
So,
End of the
okay.
day, that's
Yeah.
very important because, as you said, like people who are working or people who are coming to the place, they just need to feel, I just want to come to this place tomorrow,
Yeah.
right? So again, it's hard. It's extremely hard, right? Like even in the spot where you are, you need to juggle between multiple things, and it's, I mean, like even if you do that, it's okay. I mean, you can still just don't take it on yourself, but it's hard, specifically when you're juggling between a lot of things and you're coaching and you're taking care of operations, so it's hard. So yeah, I mean, again, your reviews are basically telling all that, right? So that means you're doing excellent job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It means a lot.
So what's the biggest mistake you see parents making with talented young athletes?
That's a great question. I struggle with this every single day. I have to bite my tongue a lot when interacting with parents. In fact, I'm not sure if I should say this, but my best friend's wife, they have a 10-year-old who's in hockey, and no matter how much I try to warn them about, like, like, take it easy. He's 10-year-old. Don't worry about chasing the letter. Don't worry about what team he plays for. Just let him have fun, let him enjoy sport. It's so easy for parents to like go all in on something, and when they like, because I'm a parent myself, right?
Right.
And but I also have had I'm not sure if good fortune is the right word, but I've had the few laps around the sun where I've seen like what kind of athletes are good at what. I know, for instance, my son is not playing professional sport. This kid do not have the genetic gifts or any of that, but he works out really hard at the gym, and he's a great kid, and he's incredibly bright. He's probably going to be an engineer one day, but he's not playing sports. So I'm very pragmatic and realistic about that. And I think a lot of parents, they tend to have some blinders on when it comes to their kids, especially in athletic performance. Like every kid is great in terms of they all going to have moments where they're going to do well, especially if they're given an environment to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
I I think kids don't do well with pressure that is unwarranted. I think especially now with social media, with the access of information that we have, your mistakes are so out there. Everybody is exposed to a level that I don't know how I would have survived when
Mm-hmm.
I was a kid. Like, lucky for me, none of my game footages was recorded back then. None of my mistakes were highlighted. And the only people that knew how bad I was were my coaches and maybe some of my teammates and obviously myself. But a lot of that stuff is not recorded in HD for everybody to see, right? So
Right.
it's hard being a teenage athlete and even a child athlete because they're recording kids games at like age 11, age 12. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I get it. It's important to review game tape and for kids to see like, okay, here, this is what happened, break down the play. But at the same time, when every one your mistake is up for review, there's a certain level of stress and anxiety inducing conditions that produces, right? I think
Mm-hmm.
as parents, the most important thing that we could do with a kids in sport is love them, and encourage them to have fun. And
True.
when the kids are enjoying their sport, they're so much more likely to be successful. And when I say successful, I don't mean like getting gold medals, getting
Mm-hmm.
championships, scoring hat tricks, saving, 10 goals in a game. Those are all great things. But
Mm-hmm.
what have they learned, right? What have they used? What have they gained from the experience of sport? Are they able to take what they've learned and build resilience and to build these social relationships that they have? How do you interact with a teammate? How do you encourage a teammate? Let's say you're frustrated with a teammate, they make a mistake. Okay. Are you able to forgive them? Are you able to move on? Are you able to move on from your own mistakes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
failing is so important in sports. You fail way more than you will ever accomplish in sports. And I think that is the best part of sports is you learn how to fail and you learn to do it with poise, humility, and most importantly, you get back up on your feet and you do it again and you just have the best time doing it.
That's an awesome advice for all the parents out there, including me. So I have like two boys who play soccer. They're only 5 and 3, but sometimes I get like frustrated. Like, dude, like stop looking at somewhere else. Just look at the ball. So yeah, no, I think you're spot on. I think you should not give any pressure or put pressure on little kids. Just have them have fun. Just enjoy the game
Yeah.
and learn all the things that you need to learn if you really want to pursue that as a sport in your career. So, yeah, that's an amazing advice to all the parents out there. So, hopefully, everyone is listening.
I hope so too.
So what's the hardest part of leading physios, chiros, and massage therapists and coaches under one roof?
I think, like any dynamic organizations and relationships
Mm,
atmosphere, managing expectations is the most important part. There is, in any scenario, there's implicit and explicit expectations, right? I think too often we leave the explicit part implicit, and the implicit part are unfortunately not so implicit. And what I mean by that is, I'll give an example. I think for a lot of us, we don't really express what our expectation is because we think that our others won't match up to our expectations. It's a boundary thing, right? So we
mm,
don't express our or explicitly express our expectations. And then when we get disappointed that those expectations are met, we're then angry at the person. But when in reality, that person doesn't know that we have certain
right.
expectations of them that we did not expect. Sorry, that we did not express those expectations of. So
Mm,
what we have to do now is, okay, now we have fractured that relationship because now we're upset at them, then they were
mm,
then upset at us. So having expectations be explicit and not implicit, I think is one of the most important variables when it comes to managing a organization. It's hard for me. I'll be honest with you. I sometimes my natural inclination when I get frustrated is just to retreat back to myself and be like, okay, I'm just gonna do this myself. Not gonna ask you for things anymore. I'm not gonna ask you to do things. And
mm,
I've had to really figure that out and fight that natural
mm,
tendency that I have, right? And getting everybody to be on the same page, having conversations with people, just those day-to-day interactions, showing trust. I find that just giving somebody responsibility is one of the best things that you can do as a leader, and
mm,
trusting them and explicitly saying, hey, I'm trusting you with this, and I know you're going to do a good job. And just labeling what my expectations are and letting
mm.
them know that I trust them and I think that they're going to do a good job. By just doing that, 99% of the time, I know that they're going to do a good job. Would they
Right.
do it perfectly? No, I don't do things perfectly.
Right. Right.
And
Yep.
sometimes what I do isn't what I need them to do, right? I don't do everything
Mm,
I don't need them to execute things in the exact same way that I would execute, but I need the results to be the same.
mm.
And
Right.
most of the time, that happens. It doesn't matter whether they choose one exercise or whether they try to execute a particular cue or feedback in a particular way. But as long as the result is there and the people
Right.
that they're interacting with are enjoying themselves and they're having fun, they're making progress, that's all that matters, right? So
Right.
getting everybody on the same page regarding how we treat people and what the environment needs to be like, I think is the most important part. And I think we've done a pretty good job at it. It definitely takes a village. I think for me, it takes a lot of time for me to obviously understand myself and what triggers
Mm-hmm.
me as well. And try
Mm-hmm.
not to be frustrated and try to do my best to be as empathetic as possible. I'll be the first one to say I'm not perfect by any means. And it's tough trying to be somebody that other people depend on consistently and
Mm-hmm.
trying to be someone who is consistently patient or just pretending to be patient at times,
Right. Right. Right.
even if I'm not. But my consistency will allow others to be consistent. Like you
Right.
said earlier, like leading from the front is incredibly important, and people can see that when you're not.
Right.
And the team itself, when we hire when any organizations hire competent people,
Mm-hmm.
it's up to the leader not to mess that up because
Right.
everybody is already good at what they do. We just have to
Right.
make sure that everybody is aligned and everybody understand what the core values and principles are. And when they do, we have to just keep reminding them. And most importantly, the leader has to execute and follow that line of logic the entire way. And the leader cannot deviate from that. Like if I'm
Right.
asking people to, show care, show love, and making sure that people are taken care of, and I don't do that, and I'm insulting everybody, and I'm making everybody feel
Yeah.
small, that's not going to work. So
It's not going to work.
yeah.
Yeah. True.
So
Yeah. No, I think absolutely right. And also, it's just that you basically set the rules and you follow. That's like the number one thing. And the second of all, again, with your implicit and explicit expectations, right? So you have an outcome. So the outcome is clients are happy and people are coming to the business, right? And again, they can be creative on how they do that, right? So I don't
mhm.
think you're defining that. You're basically saying, hey, this is my expectation, and just be creative in doing it. So, and at that point, it might not be like what is right, what is perfect. It's their way of doing. And if you don't see the outcome, that's when you need to go back and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking, and this is where the gap is, and you just sit and talk. So I think maybe that's what you're probably doing, because not everyone does the same thing. Like, even though it's not perfect, I don't think everyone does it in the same way. So
No,
they have their own ways of achieving things.
exactly. There's a certain level of autonomy that I think, or latitude that I think people needs to have, especially in a team environment. Because naturally, as competent people, you want to be creative. You want to show that what you do is unique and what you do works. Nobody wants to just follow the same script, same routine every single time, right? There has to be some room for creativity, and even in the sports performance setting. And I think that's really important. We need to have room for play, for free thinking and free movement,
Hmm.
and that applies to the athlete as well. And fundamentally, if our coaches can feel like that they have a safe space to make mistakes, to grow and to try things, that's so, so, so important. It's just fun. It
Right.
When we try to limit fun, just like we talked about with sports, like
Right.
nobody wants to participate in that. So,
Correct.
workplace no different. I'm a big kid at heart, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like to have fun just as much as the next person.
That's awesome. That's great. So when you and your partner Julian first launched the business in 2017, did you have an actual go-to-market strategy,
We
or did you open the doors and figure it out as you went?
we took time. So we had I would say about a year and a half period where we had the opportunity to plan for this business.
Mm.
And we went through a very, I would say, long and quite strenuous process of creating a business plan
Hmm.
that was very detailed. I'm still to this day very proud of the fact that we were able to do that. And we did that back in the time where there was no AI to help us. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
That's exactly.
So,
Yeah, back in the day, it's like, yeah, you just need to come up with all the documents and have a plan on the paper or digitally, but you need to do it. Like, there is no
yes.
assistant helping you with it.
No, there wasn't. And we had to do everything from market research. So, for instance, we had to figure out what our local competitors are going to be, right? And
Hmm.
this is also us trying to find a building. So we're like, okay, which town we're going to do it in, which city, and then we had to go.
Hmm.
We changed that twice. So the first location that we were planning, we couldn't really find a building that works at that particular town. So we had to go to another town slash city to do it, and then we had to redo all of our documentations when it comes to like understanding what our competitors were doing, what their prices were. So we had to lay all that down.
Hmm.
And like today, you go on ChatGPT, tell them your location, say, hey, create a 5 kilometer radius of our competitors with their list of services and their prices. Like we had to do that freehand and call these clinics ourselves to figure it out. So like it wasn't easy, but I'm really glad that we did go through that process because I think that when you truly understand your business model and you're writing everything at a certain level of like where you're really absorbing all those variables. And when
Hmm.
you're able to understand those variables become, your known knowns as opposed to your like unknown unknowns, right? Because there's our known
Hmm.
knowns, our known unknowns, and then the unknown unknowns. And we want as many, or sorry, we want as little unknown unknowns and as much as our known knowns and known unknowns as possible, right?
Yeah.
So we are able to build that, through a pretty long and hard process, to be honest. But I'm glad we did it. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's,
No.
I think it's very valuable that we had that opportunity. Will I want to do that all over again like that? Probably not in the future. Maybe for our next location, our next project, we'll use AI to help us a lot more with the planning.
That's fantastic. So, so when you first started, you said you took well an year and a half. So, what was how did you pull the clients? Because you're new in the market and you did the market research and all that. But how did you pull the clients? Is it like the referrals, or you knew some PTs around or chiropractors? How did you pull the clients in for them to trust in you because
Good.
you're new?
It's a good question. So we came, I came back to Canada in 2019, 2014, and that's where I started more or less where I am now in Richmond Hill. So I was working for another facility at the time. I had part ownership in it, very small part, and
Hmm.
I was able to work just through that process up until around 2017, 2018 within that facility and kind of build my reputation, build my network there. There was about a year and a half where I was renting space from another gym just so I could keep working and training those athletes. And the thing is, we
Okay.
never stopped building. Everything that we did was intentional. Every relationship, every time we interacted with people.
Hmm.
And it's funny how things work sometimes. The harder you try, the luckier you get.
Right.
And
Correct.
we were able to, just between Julie and I, we worked a lot of gigs. We went off site a lot. We met a lot of people and we met a lot of the right people. And that helped to build the base that we have now. Like the relationships that we have with our local soccer club was built around that time. And the funny thing is, the technical director of that particular club wasn't the technical director of that club right now, but we had met him through another friend. And he was working for another club at the time, and we had built a relationship. And it just happened serendipitously that
Okay.
he ended up being the technical director of this local club, and that relationship just worked out really well. Other
Excellent.
coaches, other parents, and like I cannot tell you how many times, we'll have a parent who was just well connected in one way and that referred us to somebody else, and that
Hmm.
became a thing. And that
Okay.
became a lead to like 10, 12, 15 clients. And yeah, every relationship matters.
Okay.
And that's a big chunk of my job, even now, is managing those relationships
Okay.
because they're very, very valuable. Not just monetarily, but I think they're very valuable in that, they help to socially reinforce or it's social proof of who we are and what we are as an organization.
Okay. So if someone hearing this podcast and thinking about like building something similar, so what's your advice for them? And again, you started back in 2017, now we're in 2026, and AI being like you can use that. But now AI is also can be used not to build the networks and all that, right? So how do you think that they need to plan out, like in your words, and advice for someone who is starting new?
It takes a lot of time to network. I think certain businesses, especially healthcare, especially sports, healthcare, sports medicine, and sports performance, the world of sports is still very much a relationship-based ecosystem. Who you know matters. And there's a lot of gatekeepers out there at every level. And those gatekeepers are who they are. Whether you like them or not, or whether they even serve a purpose, or even at times, whether they are for the benefit or the detriment of an organization, it doesn't really matter. What matters is how do you have a relationship with those individuals, and how do you leverage those relationships into trust and business. Number one, I think having a genuine personality is very important. Being a man of your word, doing what you say you're going to do is a very important aspect. Being just consistent in how you communicate with people is also very important. And I think lastly, most importantly, is there's no room for any type of dishonesty, and accountability is a big part. Like I said before, I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, and I try to own up to those mistakes every time. Even something as simple as missing a call or being late for an email. Just being able to apologize and be genuine about that apology is so important. But those relationships are, in my opinion, the most important thing. Take time with somebody that's coming in. I'll say, take every opportunity you get to get out there, go to hockey games, go visit your kids, talk to the parents, do all the extra things for people. Because people remember when you go the extra mile for them. People remember when you show up to an important event in their life. People remember when you call them for their birthday, send them a birthday message or Christmas message. Just those things matter. People remember. Some of my best relationships that I've had with clients and athletes are from that. One of my kids had a shoulder injury that required surgery. 2 days after he got home, I dropped by his house with a box of pastries for him and his parents. Right? And I've been working with that kid for 12 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of feel like, you genuinely do need to do that. It's not like, oh, you know what, if I do this, oh, I might get him on to try my coaching trainings or anything, right? It's just genuine care on that athlete or kid or someone. It's
Definitely.
just and also, yeah, and building networks is not really that easy, and especially when you have other intentions in your mind, it's definitely not going to work out. It's like you just need to be really genuine and just do that. And it's a long way. It's not any quick way to get reputation and a goodwill. So I think that's exactly what you did. So you worked for another place where you were a small part of that particular organization, but you build a reputation. So it was kind of like an easy path for you when you opened your own business. It was just like, oh yeah, we know Asa. He's a great guy. So we're going to trust him and just go and get the coaching from him on this place. I think it's not the place that they attach to, it's the coach that they attach to.
It is, but it's a double-edged sword. One of the things that I try to do now with this particular organization is not have the people rely on me, but I want them to actually look at the facility as a facility. There's a reason why we didn't name our facility like Asa and Julian or Julian and Asa's, clinic. We gave it a name that is a bit ambiguous, that it has a .com. That was important. But most importantly, we didn't want it to be about us. We knew that
Right.
any scalable business requires a service that is not attached to any particular personality. While the personalities may act as social proof or validation and might be the reason why people are coming in, we want the service to stand up for itself. We want the business model to work as its own, right? And while all of that networking is especially important in the beginning, I think as the business grows, the work that we do accumulatively as a team matters more. I'm a big believer that this the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And I think that we're definitely there at this point. Like Every one of our
Yeah.
coaches is great. Every one of our practitioners is great. Every one of our front desk staff is great. And it's not about the experience of what I can provide. It's about the experience of what the clinic can provide. And I
Hmm.
really want it to be about that. It's not about me. It's not about my partner. It's about the athlete, and they need to feel that.
Right. No, true. But again, like you guys, Asa and Julian are the ones that are social figures, right? So they kind
Yes,
of look at you and they get attracted. So if you're bringing new clients, I think right now I think you have that reputation for the company itself. But now when someone is starting new, I think it's like they need to build the credibility for themselves so people can trust that and come into your or step into your business, right?
for
It's
sure.
an organization. So I think I still have a few more questions, but let me wrap it real quick. So as a COO, you're juggling operations, coaching, and growth. Is there any specific AI tool that you're using right
Yes.
now?
So I would say there's two. We use so in terms of a language model, we do have one that manages all of our tech. I don't know which one particularly. Our CTO takes care of that. But in
Okay.
terms of, for us, it's all about the efficiency. How can we make a decision without, how do we get the data to make the right decisions at the right time, right? And gathering data historically has been some of the hardest things for any business to do. Like businesses will literally throw thousands, $100,000 for other people to analyze and interpret data for us. AI can do that very easily now. And
Right.
that's what we need. We need to know because we do have seasonality within the business. Certain seasons, especially the summers, are busiest and also our most profitable time. So
Mm-hmm.
managing everything from staffing to looking at our long-term growth and managing that is really important.
Mm-hmm.
And the data that we gather from AI
Mm-hmm.
tools help us a lot. Now, personally, for me, I use ChatGPT to help me do a lot of our mundane tasks. So I'll give you an example. Let's say a coach needs me to scrape data from their last three athletic assessments,
Mm-hmm.
and they need to know like what are some of the things that their kids need to work on, or who are the best, who's like back then, like, working with spreadsheets and all that takes forever. But now we just take the data that we had, we get the new data in, I put that into ChatGPT, and they're able to
Mm-hmm.
break all that down for us. It's so much easier. Even just taking notes, patient notes, like we can dictate that. I use Speechify to help me read things. So let's say if I have papers I need to read, or certain things I need to read upon because I'm trying to learn all the time, I'll
Mm-hmm.
use Speechify app to help me with that. For me, I'm all about efficiency, and AI has really helped us with just making the clinic more efficient, making my time more efficient. I think that's the most
Right.
important part,
Right.
and helping us make the best decisions with the best data that we have. And data is the bread and butter and the soul of decision making. And we try not to make decisions based on how we feel because
Mm-hmm.
as a
Right.
business, we cannot afford to have that level of subjectivity. We want to make sure things are objective and we're making decisions that are obviously best for the business, not based on how I feel a particular day.
Right, right. So that I think that's good. I think you have in-house applications already, and you have like a dedicated CTO to do all the integrations and analysis on the data. And on the side, you are using ChatGPT, which is like awesome. I think you already are far ahead of other business owners out there who are not really integrated themselves or their business with AI. So I think so when for someone who's starting new and they are overwhelmed with like all the AI technologies out there. So what's your advice to them?
Break down your tasks, figure out what task can be streamlined. That was hard for me because I'm a very A-type personality. I like to take charge of things, but just identifying things that I could more or less hand off to or delegate to AI has made a huge difference. And sometimes there's always this like, at least for me, I don't want to say I'm technologically adverse, but there's certain things that I think that, oh, come on, man, I can do that better. Let's say, for example, I was trying to create this profile deck for for a new project that we're working on. Long story short, we've been trying to expand for a while, and an opportunity has come for us to expand. So our potential investors wanted a profile deck. They want to know who they're working with. Well, back in the day, it would have taken me probably 20, 30 hours to put a PowerPoint together,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I literally, literally put everything into ChatGPT, ask him to put like understanding our business model from getting information from our website, getting information that we have inputted for the last little while, because I have all of our historic data,
Mm-hmm.
build us a deck for this, and I just getting make sure we had the right prompts. I did about 2, 3 iterations. It created one of the best slideshows I've ever seen, and was better than anything that I could created on my own. Obviously, I
Mm-hmm.
still had to go back and kind of change some of the words, but it was all done within about maybe 2 hours of work.
Mm-hmm.
Two
Mm-hmm.
hours of work versus what would have been like
Yeah.
20, 30 hours.
Right.
Like the level of efficiency is incredible. And
That's that's awesome.
that time is valuable. I don't
Yeah.
have an extra 20, 30 hours to give somebody,
Right.
especially this
Right.
for a project like this. So having those AI tools helps so much. Or even just knowing what our historic data is. Like that data is not easy to grab, right? I had to go back and again, scrape data, do the math, and trying to figure all that out. Not easy. Again,
Right.
time saved, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, just
Totally.
identify tasks that can be delegated to AI one at a time, play around with it, learn how to make the model work. There's a learning curve for sure, but that
Mm-hmm.
learning curve in terms of return on investment is so much better than trying to do anything yourself, right? And
That's
for us, time, the return on investment on our time is the most valuable thing because we can't get back
incredible.
time.
Right. Yeah. No. Incredible. I think that's I'm 100% on that with you. So one last question before I let you go. If you have a magic wand and ask one thing to solve, what would it be to improve or in terms of growth to your business?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Having a person in every local sport organization that I could literally reach out to and just have a conversation like they're my best friend. I think access is a big part, and it's something that I think everybody struggles with in this industry is how do we get access? And if we can lower those barriers to access, it'll be so good. But again, it's relationships, right? And
Right. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
hard.
True. So thank you so much, Asa. So whoever is listening here, what is the best place for the listeners to find you, and what should they look for first?
Okay, yeah. I'm very active on Instagram, so it's at coach.asa, ASA. Again, it's at coach.asa. That's my Instagram handle. I can give my email too. It's asa@physelite.com. So it's PHYS elite, ELITE.com, just like that. And those are the best ways to get a hold of me.
Thank you, Asa, for sharing what you have built and for all the work you're doing to shape athletes who carry your standards long after they leave the facility. Thank you so much
Thank you
for
for
your time
having me.
today.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Asa.
Take care.